The thing nobody tells you about the moment everything falls apart is how quiet it gets first. Not silent, quiet. The specific quiet of a room full of people who all just heard the same thing at the same time, and not one of them is ready to be the first to speak. That is the moment this story begins. Priya's bachelorette party, a rented rooftop. Fairy lights strung above a table of women she had loved, in some cases for over a decade. The music is still playing when it happens. Someone says something, a throwaway comment, the kind you'd normally let pass, and the woman sitting 3 seats to Priya's left goes completely still. Her name is Dominique. She is one of Priya's bridesmaids. And whatever just came out of that other woman's mouth landed on her face like a door she thought was locked had just swung open in front of everyone. Priya notices. She notices because she has been noticing things about Dominique all night. A tension she couldn't place, a careful distance from one end of the table, an almost theatrical enthusiasm directed at everyone except one specific person. That person is Celeste. Priya's best friend, maid of honor, the woman who has known her longer than almost anyone alive, the woman who gave the most beautiful toast at the engagement dinner and made Priya's mother cry in the good way. The woman who, 11 years ago, sat with Priya on the floor of a dorm bathroom at 2 a.m. and held her hair back and told her she deserved better than the boy who had just broken her heart. That's Celeste. She is at the other end of the table, laughing at something on her phone, completely unbothered, or performing unbothered. And if you are looking closely enough, which Priya is now, those two things are not the same. The comment that started it came from a woman named Bex. Bex is also a bridesmaid. She and Dominique have been friends since college, and tonight, without meaning to, Bex said something that referenced a night out, a specific restaurant, a specific bottle of wine, a specific conversation that she had no business knowing about. Because that night hadn't included Bex. It had included Celeste. Dominique knows this. The way her expression shifted, not anger, not embarrassment, something more complicated than either, tells Priya that Dominique is doing math in her head right now. Fast math. The kind where the numbers don't add up the way they should. Here is what Priya does not know yet. She does not know that Celeste and Dominique have been seeing each other, quietly and privately, for 4 months. Not seriously, Celeste had apparently said. Just something between them, something that didn't need a label. She does not know that Celeste told Bex the same thing. Different night, different restaurant, same bottle of wine. Same words, actually, which is a detail that will matter later. And she does not know about Marcus. Marcus is one of the groomsmen. He and Priya's fiancé have been friends since childhood. He is standing in for someone who dropped out last minute, and Priya likes him, genuinely, warmly, which is part of why she invited him to join the group for drinks later in the evening. She has no idea yet that Marcus has spent the last 3 months believing he was falling for someone who was falling back. That someone is Celeste. Right now, none of these 3 people know about the others. They are each carrying something they think is private, something Celeste made them feel was theirs alone. And Celeste is sitting at the end of the table, still laughing at her phone, because she does not yet know that Bex just handed Dominique a thread she is absolutely going to pull. Priya looks down the table. She looks at Celeste. She has known this woman half her life. She has trusted her with the kind of things you only trust one person with. She has handed her the role of maid of honor, not because it was expected, but because she genuinely could not imagine anyone else standing next to her on the most important day of her life. She looks at Dominique, who is looking at Bex, who has just realized something is very wrong. And Priya thinks, I don't know what is happening right now, but she is about to find out. The thing about Celeste is that she didn't become this person on the night of the bachelorette party. She had been this person for a long time. And the story of how nobody saw it, including Priya, starts much earlier than a rooftop and fairy lights. To understand what Celeste did, you have to understand what Celeste is, not who she pretends to be, not the version she shows at dinner parties or engagement celebrations or the kind of events where everyone is on their best behavior. What she actually is, underneath all of that, is someone who has never once in her adult life walked into a room without knowing exactly what she wanted from it. That sounds like a harsh thing to say about someone. It's meant to. Priya met Celeste in their first year of university. They were assigned to the same study group for a module neither of them cared about, and within 20 minutes, Celeste had made Priya feel like the most interesting person in the room. That was the thing about her. She had this quality, this specific gift, of making you feel seen, not flattered, seen. Like she had looked at you properly and liked what she found. Priya was 19, and lonely in the particular way you are lonely when you are surrounded by people but not yet known by any of them. Celeste walked in and solved that. And you don't forget the person who solves that. So they became close, properly close. The kind of close where you know each other's family complications and money fears, and the dreams you don't say out loud in case saying them out loud makes them smaller. What Priya didn't understand then, what she is only beginning to piece together now, on a rooftop surrounded by women who are all carefully not looking at each other, is that Celeste collects people the way some people collect debt. Quietly, across multiple accounts, in amounts that only look alarming when you add them all up at once. Dominique came first. They met at Priya's birthday dinner 8 months ago. Celeste was seated next to her by accident, and by the end of the night, they had exchanged numbers. Also, apparently, by accident, though Priya is now reconsidering how many things Celeste does by accident. What followed was a 4-month arrangement that Dominique understood to be exclusive. Not because Celeste said so explicitly, because Celeste created an atmosphere in which it simply felt true. She was attentive, present. She remembered the small things. A work meeting Dominique was anxious about, a difficult call with her mother, and she followed up, always, at exactly the right moment. Dominique thought she was being loved carefully. She was being managed expertly. There is a difference, and the gap between those two things is where this whole story lives. Bex arrived about 6 weeks into Celeste and Dominique's arrangement. Same technique, same attention to detail, same sense of being chosen, of being the one Celeste was really interested in. Bex is warm and a little impulsive, and she trusts quickly, which is not a flaw, it's just something Celeste identified and used. She told Bex, early on, that she didn't do labels, that she wasn't interested in performing something for other people's comfort. Bex, who had spent years in relationships defined by other people's expectations, found this refreshing. She found Celeste refreshing. She thought she had found someone who operated differently. She had, just not in the way she meant. And then there is Marcus. Marcus is the one Priya hasn't figured out yet. She knows about the tension between Dominique and Bex. Not the details, not the reason, but she can feel it the way you feel weather changing. Marcus is still an hour away from this rooftop, somewhere on the other side of the city, not yet knowing that the woman he has been quietly, genuinely falling for is sitting at a bachelorette party right now, and the walls are starting to come in. He thinks what he and Celeste have is private. He thinks it is tender and unfolding and his. He thinks she pulls back sometimes because she is scared of wanting something real. He is not going to have a good night. Here is what all three of them have in common, and here is what makes this a Fur by Firelight story and not just a scandal. None of them are foolish. None of them missed obvious signs. Celeste did not make careless mistakes or leave trails. She built 3 separate worlds, and she maintained them with a consistency that would be genuinely impressive if it weren't so devastating. Each person got a version of her that felt whole and real, because she is good enough at this to give each version real texture. If you are watching this, and you have ever trusted someone completely and been wrong, This is not a story about how you should have known better. It is a story about what it costs to be good at being trusted. If this is your kind of story, and I think it is, stay close. Subscribe so you don't lose the thread, because we are just getting to the part where everything Celeste built starts to crack at the seams. Back on the rooftop, Dominique has just stood up from the table. She is walking towards Celeste, and her face has the look of a woman who has stopped doing math and started drawing conclusions. Nobody moves to stop her, not even Priya. Because somewhere underneath the confusion and the noise and the fairy lights, Priya already understands, before she has the words for it, that whatever is about to happen, needed to happen. Dominique doesn't raise her voice. That is the first thing Priya notices. She had braced for something loud, for the kind of confrontation that makes strangers look over. But Dominique walks the length of that rooftop table in complete silence and stops directly in front of Celeste and says, very quietly, 4 words. You told her too. Not a question, a conclusion she has just arrived at and is now placing on the table between them like something she is done carrying alone. Celeste looks up from her phone, and here is the moment, the one Priya will replay later, the one that will matter more than almost anything else that happens tonight. Here is the moment where Celeste's face does something Priya has never seen it do before. It arranges itself. Not into guilt, not into surprise, into the specific, practiced calm of someone who has thought about this moment and prepared for it. The smile doesn't drop, the shoulders don't tighten. She looks at Dominique with an expression of gentle, patient concern, like a woman responding to a misunderstanding, and she says, "Can we not do this here?" And that right there is the tell. Not what she said, how fast she said it. Because a person caught off guard does not immediately know to ask for a different location. A person caught off guard reacts. Celeste did not react. She redirected. And the speed of it means she has been ready. Priya is still seated. She has not moved. But something in her has gone very still in the way things go still right before they break. Bex, at the other end of the table, looks like she wants to disappear into the floor. Because she understands now what her comment opened. She had mentioned that restaurant, the one she thought was hers and Celeste's place, the one with the specific corner table they always requested. And the way Dominique's face changed told her everything. That restaurant wasn't theirs. It was just the place Celeste liked. It is a very good restaurant. Dominique is not moving. She is standing in front of Celeste and she is waiting, because she has decided tonight that she is done accepting the version of events she is handed. She wants a straight answer. She has earned a straight answer. And Celeste, for the first time in this story, makes a mistake. She reaches out and touches Dominique's arm. It is a gentle touch, the kind that says, "Trust me, let me explain." The kind that has probably worked before. And Dominique pulls back like she's been burned. Not violently, just cleanly. A single, clear withdrawal that says, that doesn't work on me anymore. The table has gone quiet. The music is still playing, but nobody is listening to it. 7 women are watching this unfold and doing their own private math. What they know, what they suspected, what they are now beginning to reassemble in a new shape. Priya stands up. She doesn't do it dramatically. She just stands, the way you stand when your body makes a decision before your brain has finished catching up. And she walks to where Dominique and Celeste are standing, and she looks at her best friend. Really looks at her, the way she maybe hasn't in a long time, and she says, "What did you do?" Also not a question. Celeste opens her mouth, closes it, opens it again, and what comes out is something Priya will describe later as the most careful sentence she has ever heard a person construct in real time. A sentence so measured, so hedged, so specifically designed to explain without admitting that it amounts, essentially, to nothing. It is the verbal equivalent of a locked room with all the lights off. It tells Priya everything. Because the Celeste she has known for 11 years, the Celeste who held her hair back in a dorm bathroom and told her she deserved better, that Celeste would have just talked, would have stumbled and been honest and made it worse through sheer panicked sincerity. This version, the one standing in front of her right now, is choosing every word like she is diffusing something. Priya has loved this woman for 11 years. She has trusted her with things she has not trusted another living soul with. And she is only now asking herself whether she has ever actually known her. Here's the question I keep sitting with, and I want you to sit with it too. Have you ever watched someone you completely trusted suddenly become a stranger in real time? Not because they changed, but because you finally saw them clearly. Tell me in the comments, because I think more of us have been in that rooftop moment than we admit. Priya doesn't know about Marcus yet. She doesn't know he exists in this story at all. But Marcus is no longer an hour away. He got there early. He wanted to surprise her. Marcus comes through the rooftop door with the easy confidence of someone who thinks he's about to make someone's night better. He is holding flowers. Not a bouquet. A single stem. The specific kind of low-key gesture that says, "I thought of you, but I didn't want to make it a thing." He scanned the room for Celeste the second the door opened. You can tell by the way his eyes move, not searching the crowd the way you search for a friend, but homing in, the way you look for someone you have been looking forward to seeing all day. He finds her, and the smile that starts on his face stops halfway, because Celeste has seen him too. And her expression, the carefully arranged one, the managed one, cracks. Just for a second, just long enough, a flash of something raw and unguarded that she pulls back almost instantly, but almost isn't the same as completely, and Dominique is standing close enough to see it. Dominique turns to look at what Celeste was looking at. She sees Marcus. She sees the flower. She sees his face doing what faces do when they walk into something they didn't expect and cannot yet name. And she stands there for a moment processing this new information, fitting it into the shape of what she already knows, and then she makes a sound. Not a word, just a sound. Short and quiet and almost like a laugh, except there is nothing funny about it. Bex looks at Dominique, looks at Marcus, looks at Celeste, puts it together. Priya is watching all of this like she is watching something happen to someone else. The strange, floaty unreality of a moment so far outside what you expected from your evening that your brain keeps insisting it must be a misunderstanding. There is an explanation. There is always an explanation. She and Celeste have been friends for 11 years, and 11 years means something. 11 years is a foundation. 11 years is... Marcus says, "Hey, sorry, is this a bad time?" He is still holding the flower. He has not yet figured out that the flower is going to make this worse. He is reading the room now, properly reading it. The way you read a room when the temperature drops suddenly and everyone is looking at you and you don't know why. His eyes go to Celeste. A question in them. The intimate kind of question. The kind that only exists between people who have been alone together enough times to have their own silent language. Celeste looks away first. That is the moment Marcus understands that something is very wrong. Not what, not yet, but wrong in a way that is specifically about him, about them. Priya steps forward. She does not entirely know why. Something is pulling her toward the center of this, some instinct that says this is hers to stand in the middle of, that stepping back right now would be a kind of cowardice she will not forgive herself for later. She says, "Marcus, how do you know Celeste?" Simple question. Polite even. The kind of question that sounds casual right up until you realize it isn't. Marcus looks at Priya, looks at Celeste, back at Priya, and she can see him calculating, not whether to lie, she doesn't think Marcus is a liar, but whether this is his story to tell or hers, whether there is some protocol he is breaking by answering. Celeste answers for him. "We're friends," she says. "We've known each other a few months." And Marcus looks at her, really looks at her. The way you look at someone when they have just reduced you to a word that does not come anywhere close to covering what you are to each other. "Friends," he repeats. Flat. One word. An entire conversation compressed into one word. Dominique actually laughs this time. It comes out of her before she can stop it. Short, disbelieving. The kind of laugh that isn't about anything being funny. She puts her hand over her mouth immediately, but it's out. And Celeste, contained, careful, prepared Celeste, rounds on her. Fast. Too fast. "Don't," she says, sharp enough that the whole table flinches. That is the mistake. Not the word, the sharpness. The loss of the careful, managed surface. Because the woman who walked into this rooftop an hour ago would never have let that out. That was a reaction, a real one. The first real thing Celeste has shown all evening, and it is anger at being exposed rather than remorse for the exposing. Priya sees it. She feels something in her chest shift the way tectonic plates shift. Slow, enormous, and irreversible. She has known Celeste for 11 years. She has never once, in 11 years, seen her lose composure. She is only now understanding why. Because Celeste has never had a reason to before. She has always been the one holding all the information. She has always been ahead. She is not ahead anymore. And somewhere underneath the fury and the flowers and the fairy lights, there is a question forming in Priya's mind that she hasn't asked yet. Not about Celeste, not about Marcus or Dominique or Bex, but about herself. About what she missed. About how long this was happening inside a friendship she thought she understood completely. That question is going to cost her something to ask. Here's what Celeste does next, and I want you to watch this carefully, because this is the part that tells you everything about who she actually is. She pivots, not away from the situation, into it. She straightens up, smooths her expression back into something approaching composure, and she turns to Priya. Not to Dominique, not to Bex, not to Marcus, who is still standing at the edge of this with a flower in his hand and the look of a man whose entire understanding of the last 3 months is quietly disintegrating. She turns to Priya, and she says, "I need you to let me explain this. Not to the people she hurt, to the one whose good opinion she needs most." Priya stares at her. Something moves through her face. Not anger, not yet. Something closer to recognition, like a word she's been trying to remember for years has just surfaced. "What?" she says. "Explain it to them." Celeste blinks. It is a small thing, barely visible, but it is the blink of someone whose script has just skipped a page. Because this is not how it was supposed to go. In whatever version of this conversation Celeste had prepared for, Priya was supposed to be the audience, the one who needed to be managed and reassured. The friendship was the thing Celeste could not afford to lose, which meant Priya was the one she needed on her side. She did not account for Priya stepping back and pointing her toward the people she actually owed an explanation to. Marcus sets the flower down on the table. He does it slowly, the way you set something down when you realize you are never going to give it to the person you brought it for. He looks at Celeste with an expression that is not angry either. It is something quieter and more permanent than anger. It is the look of a man closing a door. He says, "How many of us are there?" The rooftop goes so still that the city noise from the street below becomes audible for the first time all night. Celeste does not answer. And that, the not answering, is its own answer. Because a person who has done nothing wrong answers that question immediately. A person who has one thing to explain answers it. You only stay silent when the truth is that you don't know how to say the number without making it worse. Dominique sits down. Not from weakness. She just suddenly looks exhausted in the way you look exhausted when you have been carrying a weight you didn't know how to name, and now it has a name, and you can finally feel how heavy it was. Bex is crying quietly. She's not making noise about it, just sitting, with tears moving down her face, looking at the table, processing something private. And Priya is looking at Celeste, really looking, the way she has been looking all night, the way she should have been looking for years. And she is thinking about 11 years, about every conversation they had, about every time Celeste knew exactly what to say, always exactly what to say, with a precision that Priya had mistaken for emotional intelligence when it was something else entirely, something colder, more deliberate. She is thinking about all the times Celeste inserted herself into situations. A new friend group, a work event, a party she wasn't initially invited to, and how within an hour she was always somehow at the center. How every room she walked into reorganized itself around her. How Priya had always found this magnetic, had been proud even to be the person Celeste was closest to. She is wondering now whether closest was just the position with the most access. Celeste starts talking. A full explanation finally, tumbling out. Not an apology, she realizes too late, but a justification. And there is a vast difference. She talks about needing connection, about things being complicated, about nobody meaning to get hurt, about feelings being real even if the situation wasn't straightforward. And with every sentence, the room gets colder. Because none of it is for them. She is listening to herself talk, monitoring how it lands, still managing, even now, even here, still performing sincerity at people who can finally see the edges of the performance. Marcus picks up his jacket from the back of a chair Priya doesn't even remember him sitting in. He must have arrived more quietly than she realized. He says nothing else. He just leaves, the way people leave when they understand that there is nothing left in a room for them. The door closes behind him. Celeste watches it close. And for just a moment, one unguarded, unperformed moment, her face shows something real. Not remorse. Priya looks carefully, and what she sees is not remorse. It is the specific grief of someone who has just lost a situation they liked, which is not the same thing as losing a person you love. It is smaller, more selfish, and it tells Priya everything she needed to know about every version of care Celeste has ever offered anyone in that room. The fairy lights are still on. The music has stopped at some point. Nobody noticed when. Priya looks at her best friend of 11 years. She does not feel rage. She does not feel devastated. She feels something she wasn't expecting, something she doesn't have a word for yet, something that sits underneath both of those things like a foundation. She will have the word for it by morning. What she does next is not what Celeste expects. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. And it will be the thing that, of everything that happened that night, Celeste will think about the longest. Priya speaks, not to the table, not to the rooftop, not to the women watching from their seats with their drinks untouched and their faces carefully neutral. She speaks directly to Celeste, and her voice is so even, so level, that it is almost frightening. She says, "I'm going to need you to go home." That's it. No speech, no list of grievances, no summary of what was done and to whom and in what order. Just that. 7 words delivered in the voice of a woman who has made a decision and is already on the other side of it. Celeste stares at her. She was prepared for anger. She had a response ready for anger. She has always known how to navigate anger, how to soften it and redirect it, and eventually absorb it until the other person feels guilty for having felt it in the first place. She was prepared for tears, for accusations, for a confrontation she could shape. She was not prepared for calm. "Priya, go home, Celeste." And something in the way she says the name, Not cold exactly, but final, the way you say something for the last time, makes Celeste go quiet. She picks up her bag. She does not look at Dominique. She does not look at Bex. She looks at Priya one more time with an expression Priya cannot fully read, something that might be an apology or might just be the performance of one, and then she walks to the door. She does not look back. The door closes, the rooftop breathes, and then something unexpected happens, something Priya did not plan and cannot explain. She starts to laugh. Not from happiness, not from hysteria, from the sheer, bewildering absurdity of it, of this night, of fairy lights and a stranger's flower abandoned on a table, and 7 women sitting in stunned silence on a rooftop at what is supposed to be a celebration. She laughs and puts her face in her hands, and when she looks up, Dominique is watching her with an expression that tips, slowly, into something almost like a smile. "I'm sorry," Dominique says, "about all of this." "Don't," Priya says. "You didn't do anything." And she means it. That is the thing about this story that took Priya the longest to work through afterward. The anger never landed where it was supposed to, on the people in that room with her. They had all been handed the same fiction. They had all trusted the same person. They had all been given a version of something that felt real because it was constructed to feel real. And none of that is foolishness. That is just what it looks like when someone is very good at knowing what you need and giving you just enough of it. Priya removes Celeste from the wedding, not in a dramatic phone call, not with a letter or a list, just a quiet conversation the following week where she said, simply, that she needed to make different arrangements. Celeste tried to talk. Priya let her finish, and then she said what she had been sitting with for the week between. "I don't think you've ever actually seen me. I think you've seen what I need and you've used it, and I can't unknow that now." Celeste said nothing, because there was nothing to say, because the most honest thing between them had finally been spoken out loud, and honesty was the one language Celeste had never been fluent in. The wedding happened. It was beautiful. Someone else standing in the spot that had been reserved. And Priya says the day felt lighter than she expected, like a window had been opened in a room that had been closed for a very long time. Here is what I keep coming back to. Celeste was not magnetic by accident. She was studied. She paid attention to people in the way a locksmith pays attention to a lock. Not out of love for the lock, but because she needed to know how it opened. And the cruelest thing about that kind of attention is that it feels like being known. It feels like someone finally seeing you. The difference between being known and being mapped is not always visible from the inside, but you can feel it if you let yourself. There is a warmth in being truly known that has nothing to do with usefulness, nothing to do with what you provide or what access you give. It is the warmth of someone who would stay even if you had nothing to offer them. If you have ever had to learn that difference the hard way, you are not here alone. If there is a story waiting on your side of the screen, I want to hear it. There is a whole next episode with your name on it, and the fire is still going. You are not too much. They were just not enough. Some stories don't end with an apology. They end with a boundary, and that's enough. The firelight is always on.